As festive, the Flyers certainly showed up on the road tonight. The 4-1 win against the Chicago Blackhawks. The Eagles' last couple road games haven't gone very well. Haven't. I do want to apologize. Obviously, I was not. Uh, I did not do my pre game vid for the Eagles Dallas game, and it's taken me a while here to get around to doing my post game vid. Obviously, 37-10, horrible loss. Full disclosure, I was out this weekend with my buddy Big Slim. We went to Hartford, Connecticut, met up with Throwback King, aka Snacks. Thank you again, Snacks, for everything, hosting us there. We had a ton of fun. We went to the Naismith. We went to the Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield, Mass, which is very close to where Snacks lives there in Hartford. We met up with M Diddy there, Mac of course. We had a blast. It was a great time. And for those of you who don't know who these other guys are, well, of course, Jersey Heads, fellow Jersey Heads of mine. Of course, I got my start here on YouTube for my Jersey collecting hobby and passion, and it's still something I'm very passionate about. I know I haven't exactly done a lot of videos for it on YouTube. I apologize about that, but I'm still very much active in the community for it. The groups on Facebook and whatnot, still, talk to the guys and all, and had an opportunity to, take a trip with my buddy Big Slim this past weekend. We went there, and it was a ton of fun, and it's a great place to visit. It's certainly for hoop heads and for anyone who has any interest in basketball. It's a cool museum, and they have this really cool court there you can play on, shoot around and whatnot. And yeah, full disclosure, Big Slim and Snacks were, certainly making more shots than me at that point, but we were playing different games and various different things we were doing, and Mac, brought a buddy of his, and it was just a great time. And there was a good restaurant there nearby. We went there for dinner afterwards, and just chopping it up with the guys, and just talking about our passion there for the collecting. And I mean, goodness, we must have talked about an hour after we ate, just sat around, and those are the moments that you enjoy, being with good company, having good time, good food, and just, enjoying it. And obviously the next day, that Sunday, we hung out there with Snacks for a bit, and, he being a big Raiders fan, he got to watch his Raiders on TV. We stayed for that game. It didn't go very well. I mean, but Snacks and us, we didn't have a very good Sunday for our teams, because, obviously the Raiders got destroyed by the Packers, and the Eagles got destroyed by Dallas, and it just wasn't. But long story short, by the time my Big Slim and I came back here, the game was pretty much wrapped up. So we really didn't get a chance to watch a lot of it. We heard a good portion of it coming back in the drive, and, we can just tell, just by the radio how it was going. And by the time I actually sat down here, the game had already ended. So I can't profess that I saw much of the game, and I really probably didn't miss much. Yet another week that I'm not even going to call him by his last name. It's Nelson Alligator Arms, because that's basically what he is. Again, doesn't do all he can to make a catch. And look, would that play have, turned the tides? Probably not, but it's just an example of how things have gone the last few weeks. And there's blame to go around. It's been awful. Really, both sides of the ball. Coaching staff not getting it done. Players not getting it done. Front office not getting it done. I didn't want to make I had a video queued up for the reaction of not getting Jalen Ramsey. I was not happy, but I decided, you know what, I'm not going to post this thing. It's just because it was a pretty tiradical video that I just figured, you know what, it is what it is. I did warn of the mistakes the Phillies made this offseason. And I know this past season, I should say, and I know it's hard with one sport and another to to mix, but I think that there are enough. I think there are enough lessons learned from what the Phillies didn't do. They had a glaring need. They didn't do all they could to fix said glaring need. And I don't want to hear getting scraps from other teams. No, I mean real, you know, starting pitchers that could have helped this team to possibly make the postseason, possibly be a wild card. And not doing it shows if we don't, we don't, and we see what happens. I mean, not for nothing, you have two teams in the World Series right now. I know they're very good teams. Obviously, one team we know very well around here because they're a division rival in Washington. Two teams with great pitching are in the World Series. Gee, shock. Okay, there's not a big surprise. And I know teams with great pitching don't always get there in Nationals past few years, but come on. I mean, when you have the pitching and you have offense, you can do it. You can, you can do it. You can go to a World Series. You can have success. Okay, and the Phillies put all their eggs in one basket with the offense, and they believe too much in these other young pitchers that just weren't going to do it, and then the season's going along, and you can see the problems they have, and they just they didn't want to address it, and here that we saw what happened. Now look, I mean, we'll see what they do this offseason, but it was maddening. It was just maddening to see this, to see them as aggressive they were that offseason, and as how go for it mode they were in that offseason when the push came to shove. And I always say this about front offices. To make moves before a season is easy. That's the easy part. When you're in the middle of a season and you see the problems on a team and you know what you have to do to address those problems and you don't. I mean, that to me is where you earn that money. You earn that money at that point. When there are problems in the regular season and you see those problems and you don't do enough to address it, I mean, what can you do? And I understand Howie and the front office was a big reason why they won Super Bowl 52, and they'll always be remembered for that. But the Peterson comments during the parade, the new norm comments and everything, I mean, when you're going through a season now, and not just this year, but last season too, and you see the problems with the secondary, and there are young players out there, young players, who, by the way, this team never drafts well at cornerback, at wide receiver, at linebacker, and there are players out there who are difference-making players, particularly in the secondary, Minka Fitzpatrick, Jalen Ramsey, and you don't go after these guys. I know it's a lot to give up. I get that. Oh, first-round picks, blah, blah. Okay, not every first-round pick the Eagles draft pans out. I don't know if anyone's noticed this or not. The Eagles aren't exactly one of the greatest drafting teams in the league. And I know some of those players they drafted over the years certainly panned out, helped them win a Super Bowl. I get that. And that's wonderful. We'll always be thankful for that. But for the most part, this team under Howie Roseman does not... They're inept at drafting at certain positions. Like I said, cornerback, wide receiver, linebacker. I mean, come on. When's the last time they've drafted impactful players at these positions that are going to be, difference makers? They don't seem to know. And because they don't do it, guess what? You have to trade for these guys. You have to overspend and bring these guys in as free agents, as they've done. That is it, and that's to the detriment of the scouts and whoever the powers that be that just don't draft well. Even this past draft, I mean, again, speed wide receivers. They never seem to know how to get these guys. They get Whiteside, and I still don't know what he is. He doesn't see the field. So you had Metcalf out there. No, we're going to get a guy who's basically known as a red zone target and a possession receiver instead of going after and getting a burner for those chunk plays that you see teams do all the time against the Eagles, okay, that we can't do. Because when Djax, surprise, he gets hurt, he's not playing a full season, which he hasn't played a full season, and God knows. And I'm glad they brought him back, but you have to understand, you have to kind of see this thing that if he gets hurt, you do want to have another speed receiver in there, even if it's a rookie, that's going to still be able to, stretch the defense. No? I'll take a Whiteside. Okay. I don't know. And I don't want to make this video about Jalen Ramsey because he's not here. I mean, what can we do? He's a Ram. The Rams, the last few years, have given up, and we'll see. Maybe it's to their detriment, but they've given up all these first-round picks for these players, 2 first-round picks and a 4th for Jalen Ramsey. And for who Jalen Ramsey is, and I know it's gonna cost them a ton to get him this offseason, and maybe that's why the Eagles decided not to go as hard for him as they could have, because Howie, being the capologist that he is, thought there was no way they were going to keep this guy in and with the cap, and and look, it is understandable in a way. If you're going to give up all these picks, you do want to be able to retain the guy after this season, not just have it as a rental. And maybe they felt he was just going to be a rental, but damn, man. Again, that's opportunity lost. It was opportunity lost not getting Clowney. It was opportunity lost not getting Minkah Fitzpatrick. Minkah Fitzpatrick, I think, is the biggest one, because he was still locked up for another, few years. He's still young. I mean, that was a player that I think it definitely would have made sense for Howie to do whatever he had to do to get. Jalen Ramsey, absolutely. Again, is another miss. And I know, we'll see what happens with the Rams. Does Jalen Ramsey cure all their needs? No, because they still have some offensive deficiencies there with the offensive line and whatnot. It's been talked about a lot since they got him. But the one thing I do know is that a move like that's a galvanizing move for a team. The Eagles' problem the last, and you can see, I mean, those players, those unnamed sources came out after the move was not made by Howie and said, yeah, that's something we probably should have done. You get Jalen Ramsey, that galvanizes a team. That shows a team that you're still committed to winning. That this is what we're willing to do because we still believe in this team. We still believe in this season. Not going after Jalen Ramsey, I don't know. I mean, it's one game. It's 1 week. And I know that the Falcons aren't great shakes. Well, their only win was against the Eagles. So what can you do? It was their Super Bowl to beat the Eagles. And I guess it definitely was, because we see what they've done the rest of the way. Not much. So the fact of the matter is that, and it's one game, the Eagles don't get Jalen Ramsey, they suck again against Dallas. The Rams get Jalen Ramsey, and basically the two teams were doing pretty much the same kind of stuff. Losing streaks, right? One team gets Jalen Ramsey, boom, you see what happened to them. They go to Atlanta, they win a game. Defense is dominant. Jalen Ramsey's making plays, and they win a game that they needed to win because they had lost, 3 in a row, whatever it was at that point. The Eagles didn't lose 3 in a row, but they are coming off a piss-poor performance at Minnesota, where the defense got lit up by Kirk Cousins. I mean, it wasn't December, so, that's when you want to play Kirk Cousins. But anyhow, the defense gets lit up. Receivers open all over the field. Eagles don't get Jalen Ramsey, and then they go to Dallas, and I don't think they got lit up the way they did against the Vikings. But again, the defense doesn't make plays. Dallas is scoring points. They win a game, and the Eagles lose 37-10. One team that got Jalen Ramsey on the road won. The other team that didn't get Jalen Ramsey on the road lost. And does Jalen Ramsey or Minkah Fitzpatrick for that reason cure everything for this defense? No, because the biggest problem for this defense, and I know that the secondary has gotten all the attention, but the biggest problem for this defense has been the pass rush. It's not there. The year they won the Super Bowl, this team had the best defensive line in football. The best. They had the best rotation. They were deep. They got pressure on the quarterback. Pressure, sustained pressure, and it is and again, maybe I'm going to contradict myself here, but it's the same secondary basically that they have now. And those guys made plays that season. They led the league in takeaways, or if they didn't lead the league, they were certainly in the top echelon of teams with takeaways that season. And doing their dances, doing the electric slide and all that. And the reason they were able to get all those takeaways is because of all the pressure that the D line put on the opposing quarterbacks. This season, it just hasn't been there. I mean, they you take away the Jets game where they got 10 sacks, they're a bottom of the barrel, below the bottom. They're like you went into the barrel, you drilled around the hole, you went around the bottom of the barrel, I should say, caught making a big hole and going down below the barrel. And that's where this team is when it comes to QB pressure, when it comes to takeaways. It's non-existent. And when you don't have the pressure on the opposing quarterback, they're going to pick you apart, and that does further show off the weakness of the secondary of the corners and the fact. Look, I mean, Malcolm Jenkins and McLeod, the safeties have not had a great year, and the corners have certainly not had a great year. They get burned almost every week. They get double moved to death. Now look, Jalen Mills came back this week, had a nice interception, made some plays, but he gets burned again on a double move, and it's what can you say? It further puts this secondary in a bad spot. They're not that good, and the fact you're not getting the pass rush, it's making it worse. It shows those deficiencies even that much more. And I know the spotlight's been put on the secondary, but it's the defensive line just not making enough plays. Just not getting enough sustained pressure on the quarterback. And just about every week we've gone up against a wide receiving core of another team where one of their receivers is getting over 100 yards in a game. And I know it's a passing league and it's going to happen, but just about every week in a season we've had a 100-yard receiver against this secondary. And to me, it's not that surprising. It just isn't. You're not getting pressure on the opposing quarterbacks, and your secondary ain't that good. They're just not that good. Now, again, does Jalen Ramsey, does Minkah Fitzpatrick, does that cure everything? No, but you know what it does is it takes away one part of the field. It takes away your one of their best receivers, and when you do that, maybe the quarterback holds on to the ball for an extra second. Maybe that extra second's enough time for this pass rush to get there. So it's one of those double-edged swords, right? They didn't do it. Would it have cured everything? Maybe not, but maybe it takes away some big plays from these teams. Those chunk plays, at least on one side of the field. And people would say, Nnamdi Asomugha's name came up a few times. Now go away. Nnamdi Asomugha is completely different than Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey is a better player than Nnamdi Asomugha. B, it would not have been the same situation. And there are those that said this isn't the right defense for Jalen Ramsey. It's all about scheme. And, it would have been the same. Like Nnamdi came here, it was scheme, and it just didn't work out. I mean, I do believe if Jalen Ramsey was an Eagle, it would have worked out with him here. Now you would have had to have paid the man, and maybe it wasn't the most financially feasible thing when you have an older team, when you have an aging team, and there are other positions you're going to have to fill after this season. I get that. So I can kind of see that side of the coin too, that, yeah, you're going to have to probably replace a few of these players or trade some of these players after the season, and you're going to have to, get younger at different positions. And, hey, how are you going to keep this thing going? Well, you got to get younger. And I totally understand that. So if that's the reason that Howie decided not to do whatever it took to get Ramsey or Fitzpatrick or whatnot, but at the same time, I mean, these guys are young players. You're not always going to have a situation where you have young, difference-making, playmaking, players out there that are tradable. All you have to do is make a trade, put a package together, and get it done. And again, Howie a few years ago even last year, I mean, being aggressive, making moves, and part of the reason that we were able to hang this banner up is because Howie was aggressive. And he had Joe Douglas in his ear too, and now Joe's with the Jets, but it's like the first year without Joe there, and Howie again, kind of didn't make the move for Clowney, didn't make the move for Fitzpatrick, didn't make the move for Ramsey, didn't even make the move for Emmanuel Sanders, who certainly would have been an upgrade over Nelson Alligator Arms. Okay, but it is what it is. What can you do? It's not that surprising at this point when they really haven't made a move for anybody via trade. And we are coming up about on the trade deadline, and if the Eagles lose this game to Buffalo, are they gonna is that gonna entice them that much more to make a move? And maybe as a fan base, at that point we don't want to make a move because it's like, well, you're 3-5. Do you give up picks at that point for players? I don't know. I mean, is the division still winnable? Maybe even at 3-5. I mean, I don't know if Dallas is going to run away with it. They got some tough games and whatnot coming up. The Eagles' second half of the schedule after the Patriots and Seattle roll through town gets a little easier. But even with that, it's like I don't even know what an easy game is anymore with this team. Because even some of these teams that are on the schedule that they're going up against, well, if its defense is still playing the way it is and the offense is still playing the way it is it gonna matter? I mean, hell, the Eagles might give the Dolphins their first win in the year. In that game down here of Dallas. I mean, if the Dolphins are still have yet to win a game, and the Eagles are down there in Miami just basically to have a vacation, and the Dolphins could beat us at this point. Are you kidding me? I mean, God, the Bengals might be able to beat us at this point if this defense and offense is playing the way they are the past 2 weeks. Anybody could beat this team. And it's frustrating. It is absolutely frustrating. Look, for the first time in the Doug Peterson era, this team has put up 2 clunkers back-to-back weeks. It's the first time it's happened, since Peterson's been the coach. And it is concerning. It is, and I think it falls back on the coaching staff, too. Look, everyone has part to blame here. Everyone. The players, the coaching staff, the front office. The mess that this team is right now, everyone has a hand in it. Every single player, every single coach, the front office, not making moves, not addressing the needs that this team has right now, the glaring weaknesses of this team, and you're not making trades to try to address these issues. And again, some of these trades are not going to address every issue, but again, you make a big move like that, it's a galvanizing thing. Sometimes that's all it takes to turn a season around. I don't know. I don't have answers here. I'm a fan. I don't have the answers. I wish I did. I know the injuries have hit this team, and it's an older team, so there's going to be injuries. Guys are going to be out of the lineup. It's what's going to happen with an older team. And again, it falls back on Howie. Maybe you were being a little too loyal to some of those players, those older players that help you win. And I understand it. I mean, a team wins a championship, first Super Bowl title in franchise history. I get it. You're going to be loyal to players. But at the same time, it's like you have to also understand that you have an older team and you're going to maintain players that it's going to stay an older team. And when you're not drafting, if you're not hitting on as many picks as you should, it's just not helping matters. It's just not. And the jury's still out on some of these players like Miles Sanders and whatnot. I mean, right now it doesn't look that great, but it's early, and I am in the boat of giving players a chance and seeing what they have in a few years. And if they're still doing the same things that they're doing their rookie season, yeah, it's a bust. If they're not producing. So the jury's still out on some of these picks, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. They don't value certain things when they're drafting. It's like speed for a wide receiver. It's like, for whatever reason, this team doesn't value that. It's like possession guys. It's like, all right, well, I don't know. Metcalf would look all right now. And it's all hindsight. And that's all we can do as a fan and say, because if this team is winning right now, has like one loss, 5-1 or whatever, no one's talking about the drafts. But, they're 3-4. And they have struggled the past 2 weeks, and their offense is looking at the last 2 weeks. So yeah, of course the fans are going to start going, well, if they would have drafted this guy, or if they would have made that move, or whatever, who knows? Maybe it's not looking as bad right now. Again, everyone's to blame. When you play the way you did the last 2 weeks, there's no one without blame. I mean, it has been bad. I feel bad for the fans that made the trips, to be honest. To go to Minnesota, to go to Dallas, to take all that money it takes to make that stuff happen, and you go and it's always a possibility if you're gonna go on a road trip, there is a possibility a team doesn't show up, and it's a lot of money, So I feel for the fans, but what can you do? This team is played without any heart. They've played without any confidence the last 2 weeks, and it's been awful. But, as a fan, what can you do? All we can do is watch the games. Can't do anything about what they do or don't do on the field. I hope things get a little better this week against Buffalo. A little better. I hope things get better against Buffalo, and I know it's a tough game. Buffalo's 5-1, and they're playing really good. Their defense is played lights out. Offensively, I think they have some challenges. I don't know if Allen is the real deal, but he makes enough plays week to week to win. The defense certainly keeps their opponents down, and here we are coming in a struggling offense against that defense. And again, these are like the games. They're like a lot of people are saying Eagles aren't going to win, and these are usually the games. When people say they're not going to win, they find a way to do it. Would I be shocked if they win this game? No. But would it surprise me if they come into this game and they struggle again and maybe Buffalo doesn't blow them out? But, it almost gets a feel like the Tennessee game from a year ago. Like maybe it could be a game like that where it's just, and it goes to overtime and, it could be like that, this game. Or it could be a win. I don't know. I do want to make another video before that game, do a little preview for it, and of course the Festive Four. Apologize, did not have the Festive Four a week. We're going to have to do the bye week on that this past week. Just so much was going on. I was getting ready for that trip, and I just didn't have the chance to make a vid. I felt bad, I'm like, oh man, I didn't do the vid with the Festive Four and everything, and again, I apologize about that. I was just super busy. I guess the Eagles and me, it just didn't. It wasn't a. Me as far as YouTube last week, it wasn't a good week. But no, I do apologize. Festive felt bad too about not doing the Festive Four last week, but we'll be back with it this weekend. And again, I'll do a vid, leading up to Buffalo and the game in Buffalo, and we'll see. I just. Hurting right now. I look forward to these seasons. I do, and I know we've had some rough years in years past, and it always, football is one of those things. It's a once a week deal. So if they win, your spirits are up for the week. If they lose, particularly the way they did the last 2 weeks, God, every time they lose, anytime you lose to Dallas, that's 4 straight against that. Wonderful team, but and then they're wonderful fans, the local ones that only show up after wins. So we heard from them this week. I don't know where they were the past 3 weeks, particularly after the Jets loss. We didn't hear anything from Dallas fans. Now you hear from them. Now you hear from them. I don't get. They're local fans, the bandwagon ones. The ones that are loyal and everything. I give cred, but most of them around here. I mean, they're scum. I mean, that's just, because you only hear from them when they win. When they lose, they don't call local sports talk. They don't put the stuff on social media. Nothing. They disappear. They're ghosts. It's Halloween, so yeah, they're ghosts. When they win, oh, look at us. They're special. But no, it's disappointing, because it is. It's a once a week deal, and when they play like crap, then you got to put up with. It's just it. Guys, just show up this week. Show up this week at Buffalo, okay? I mean, come on, man. It's been beyond pathetic the last 2 weeks. So we'll see. I just. Oh God. Oh, what a mess these past 2 weeks have been. It's been a mess. It has been an absolute mess. I can't profess that I watched a lot last week. I didn't watch any of it, to be honest. It's on the road and came back doing stuff, but it's a disaster. This has been the road trip from hell, hasn't it? I mean, Minnesota, Dallas so far, 2 bad losses. And now you go up against a 5-1 Buffalo team. And, again, these are the games that the Eagles win, right? Because everyone is going to, the whole board on the pregame, they're all going to pick Buffalo and everything. Everyone's going to be Buffaloed up, and then the Eagles will find a way to win. That's usually how it works, but we'll see. I mean, look, the way this defense and offense has played the last 2 weeks, I don't even know if I could say that with a straight face. But, I'm hoping, man, because I can't take another one like that. I just, I remember those Chip Kelly years, and I remember the last and how horrible that was. And I'm not saying Doug is Chip. I'm not, but Doug, the play calling's got to get better. It just has to. And maybe someone else has to be in his ear. Maybe they need to find another offensive coordinator or something to come in here and be. And it's not a slight to Doug. It really isn't. Some guys just work better with other guys, brainstorming. As we saw a few years ago, how great was Doug that year? Come on, and he has great attributes there with the aggressiveness and going for things and whatnot. But I do think that he is one of those coaches that does benefit from having other, brainstorming with other coaches in his ear. And I don't think it's a slight to him. I don't think it's anything against that. Because there's great defensive coordinators that need help, that need other guys, brainstorming to scheme these plans. Not everyone's Belichick. Okay, no one's Belichick besides him. Okay, not everyone's like that. So some guys, they benefit more from having other guys in their ear. And okay, this is what we want to do in this situation or that situation. And Doug worked really well with those guys, DeFilippo and Frank Reich, a few years ago to the tune of the Super Bowl championship. Again, it's not a slight on Doug. It just isn't. And we see how well Frank Reich's doing with the Colts. But I do think he would definitely benefit from having another voice in his ear and helping to script some of these plays. And, I don't think Doug's a bad coach. I don't think he's a horrible, head coach. Because this team, for the most part, under his guidance, has had success. It's just, at this point, he's kind of flying solo there on offense, and I don't know if Rowe's the guy there with him. I do think he needs more help. And hopefully, the front office goes out and, I heard, and this is again banner on the sports talk radio. Some people were talking about maybe Jay Gruden. I know he was not a very good head coach, but he's an offensive mind. Never quite had the talent there in Washington, but certainly an offensive mind, and maybe he comes to, be an offensive coordinator with the Eagles, and, maybe he's that voice, that missing voice that Doug needs. Again, it's just a voice that was thrown, a name rather that was thrown out there, on local sports talk radio, and it might not be the worst thing in the world. Whatever it is, this team needs to get things right, and I know there's been a lot of, the locker room talk and the unnamed sources doing this, saying that. Again, this is what happens when you lose. This is what happens when you lose. If this team was winning, you wouldn't. This stuff would not even come out. It wouldn't even be an issue. It's the same with the Eagles as it is with any other team. When you're losing, this is the type of stuff that happens, particularly in a football season, because there's a lot of time between games. With all the other sports, you're playing. And it's not to say that there's not voices or unnamed sources or this and that. It happens, but because you're constantly playing games, it's a little different. In football, you have basically a week between games. Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, you're going to have more of these stories out there. And it's a shorter season. It's 16 games and then the playoffs. Listen, I'm hurting just as much as the rest of we are here in Eagles Nation. 3-4, they've looked horrible the last 2 weeks, just borderline unwatchable, pathetic. I mean, you can use any word you want. It's been bad, and here's hoping that they can turn it around. Here's hoping that if they can win against Buffalo, maybe Howie makes a few moves, unlike what he's done so far. I think that the Eagles' name for this season, how they always do the highlight package after the season. I don't know how many highlights there'll be after this so far, but the highlight. Well, the other teams had some highlights, but the highlight package, right? I think that the NFL films and shows it the next week, the next season, NFL Network, whatever, leading up to the season. So far, the name for this season is dropping the ball, right? It's been the players dropping the ball. It's been Howie dropping the ball, the coaching staff dropping the ball. So I think the name of this season so far for the Eagles, unfortunately, has been dropping the ball. Nelson Alligator Arms is certainly at the forefront of that. But no, I hope they play better against Buffalo. I really do. But we'll see. I will have a video this weekend up with the Festive Four coming up for this week's action, and it's tough. 37-10. Nothing you can do about that. You just gotta find a way to move on, and we'll see what they do against Buffalo. Look, we need a win here, okay? For our psyche, we need a win because it's been tough. It's been tough, and I know the Flyers got their season going, the Sixers got their season going. Big win last night against Boston. Hey, they showed up against a rival, didn't they? The Eagles, no. Dallas. So anyhow, I'm hoping, man. I am. I'm hoping they can turn it around, find a way to get a win against Buffalo, and then we'll see what happens. I mean, is the season over now? No, but it's just it has that feel to it. It just has that feel of one of those years. It just, I don't know. I'm trying. I'm trying to hope for the best for this week, but again, they've showed me nothing the last 2 weeks to say, okay, well, you know what? But they did this well, and maybe they can make that carry up. They have done nothing well. Nothing well the past 2 weeks. They've given up plays. They've done that well the last 2 weeks. Besides that, just come on, guys, get it together. But anyhow, that's going to do it for now. But like I said, I'll be back again on the weekend with a little pregame vid there for the Eagles Bills matchup, and of course the Festive Four. Again, had to have a bye week with the Festive Four last week. I apologize. Just it was one of those things. Kind of got away from me last week, but had a big trip to get ready for, and again, tons of fun. Big shout out to my buddy Big Slim. Big shout out to my buddy Snacks, aka Throwback Kid. Big shout out to my buddy M Diddy. Great time with you guys, and you know what? The Eagles lost that game, but spending the time with friends and having a great time, you know what? That's the real important thing in life. These games, they happen, and I know we agonize about them or we celebrate them, but when you can hang out with friends and just go out and do something, have an adventure, that's the real aspect of life right there. These games, these teams, we can't control what they do or don't do, or the moves they make or don't make. We can make our videos here on social media about it, but at the end of the day, we don't control it. But we can control what we do in our lives, and sometimes just going out there and having a guy's weekend out or whatever, that it's a great thing. It was a lot of fun. And I thank you guys, for that. Great times and memories, certainly. Okay, I'm not going to remember me missing some of those shots, but, yeah. I had some moves there, and the ball just wouldn't go in. But, no, I was like an Eagles cornerback. But tons of fun, and thank you guys again for a great weekend. And unfortunately, Eagles couldn't finish it off with a victory. But, you know, it is what it is. We'll see what happens this weekend. All right, everyone. All right, Eagles Nation. Hey, you know what? We hope for better things here. Let's go, Birds. Let's get this thing back on track. And we'll see what happens. I'll be back again this weekend, though, with a preview vid for Buffalo and the Festive Four, of course. All right, everyone. Take care. Bye.